Hello there, and welcome to episode 19 of Colonization Project. Right now, we are launching a few new modules up to the Minmus Orbital Outpost. They're launching on top of Sarnas, and that's about all this mission is. It's carrying, I believe, 3 modules. It's carrying 2 new life support modules, which can support 3 crew each, and it's also carrying a greenhouse module, a new greenhouse module, so we don't have to rely on the old one. This new one is improved. It's a lot bigger. It generally just has a lot more stuff, and you can see it now. That's about all this mission is. We don't really need the new life support modules, but the crew on the Minmus Orbital Outpost are sort of running out of supplies. So I want to send this up just so they can last enough, just so they can have enough food and water in order to last them the rest of the time it's going to take for them to the rest of the time it's going to take the space program to build a new rocket that has new life support on it. That's what I was trying to say. But now you can see we're just reusing the booster for like the 17th time. I don't think this booster is ever going to end its lifespan. It's just immortal. It doesn't obey by the laws of wear and tear. It just does what it needs to do, and that is launch things into space, and it does that pretty well, and it also lands back on the drone ship pretty well. But this is just some life support modules and some greenhouses, and we might get rid of the old life support module and greenhouses just because it's just extra parts at this point, but we might also not. I'm not sure yet. But sooner or later, we will have to send up more supplies in order for the Kerbals not to go insane because they have to eat they have to eat the reserve foods, and those are like the liquidated foods. They're probably not that good, so they probably don't want to work. And we need science from the science labs. They won't work in the science labs if they're not happy. So we will just have to send up some more supplies. I don't actually have it to where running out of food and water kills the crew. I don't have that in case I just forget that the crew exists for a while. I just have it so that they don't work. They turn into tourists. They can't do anything until you actually give them supplies. I think that's what happens. At least in my head, that's what happens when they run out of supplies. They have to eat like the food that makes them unhappy, not the tasty food, the bad food. At least I think that's what happens when they run out of supplies. But anyway, we have arrived at the Minmus Orbital Outpost, and we can now do a bit of acrobatics in space before finally deciding to slow down and dock the new modules. So we're docking the greenhouse module to one of the crew docking ports. I sort of have like 2 sections of the space station. It has a industrial section, which is the solar panel array downwards, and then the crew section is just everything else. And because this module will need crew to farm crops, would you call them crops in space? I don't think you would. Crops are like stuff that you get from like massive farms. This isn't really a farm, it's a greenhouse. So stuff you get from plants, maybe. They need to harvest the plants. And in order to harvest plants, you need crew. I don't think we have robots on the space station doing that. So that's why I'm connecting it to the crew. But these, despite having windows, they cannot house any crew, and they're only there to recycle. I'm not sure why they have windows. They don't have house crew, so we just put them on the industrial section and just let them be in the industrial section. But you can see now we are disassembling a lot of the redundant parts like monopropellant tanks, RCS thrusters, probe cores, all that stuff. We don't need them anymore, so we're just disassembling them. We're good on electric charge, so we don't need batteries. Our reaction wheels on the station are decent. We also don't need solar panels because we have that big solar truss array. It provides more than enough power, and we have more than enough battery storage, but it runs out a bit during the night. If you don't time warp fast enough, the station actually runs out of its 15,000 electric charge, which is very surprising, which means that those solar panels must be doing a whole lot of work in order to keep the station up and running, because apparently all the modules that we have running are chewing up a lot of electric charge. But you saw there we are just unlocking advanced heat management, which gives us better radiators, which we will need eventually, but not now. This is the life support module that I was talking about earlier. It's launching on a Leviathan because we're launching more than just life support, but those life support modules are very heavy. So we just need a big launch vehicle to launch it. That's about it. I forget what else we're packing on this launch, but it's a life support module. That's what the number one thing is. We are also carrying along, a gravity ring and more material kit storage, because it's kind of a waste of material kits if we can't have anywhere to store them, and we just keep disassembling in parts. Because every part you disassemble, like you saw me disassembling the redundant parts earlier on, those actually you disassemble them. I can't speak today. I've said that in the last 3 episodes, so I can't speak any day of the week. If you disassemble them, they turn into material kits, and if you don't have enough storage on your craft or on nearby craft or on the planetary warehouse in USI Kolonization, you end up losing them, and that's not good. We want to be keeping them, which is good. You can also see we did land the Leviathan booster on the drone ship, and apparently we accidentally left the Sarnus booster on the drone ship too. It gives you an interesting comparison of the two sizes of the launch vehicle. The Leviathan first stage is actually a whole lot shorter than the Sarnus first stage, but it's a lot wider, and also the Leviathan has 3 stages, so there's that. But now we are recovering the second stage, like we normally would. And we can perform an entry burn so it doesn't overheat and die. That would be pretty bad. But you can see here I was trying to do a 1-engine landing burn, but I forgot about offset thrust. And it sended us crashing into the ocean. So still not a 100% successful recovery of an entire Leviathan booster, but we'll get it eventually. But eventually is not now. Right now we are sending this modules out to Minmus, where they belong. I'm not sure where else we would be taking them. Space Lab isn't really suited for more material kit storage, partially because it doesn't have any crew on board. And the Mun Space Station, the Lunar Gateway, I kind of forgot it existed for a second. But now we are just performing a quick mid-course correction in order to get us onto a course that intersects Minmus, and we can plot a rendezvous like we normally would do with anything going to Minmus. Although we do almost anything going to Minmus, if it's not going to the Moon Gateway, it doesn't plot out a rendezvous, because what else would it be going to? We don't have anything else in orbit around Minmus. I mean, we do have a couple satellites, as well as a couple satellites. But why would you rendezvous this big spacecraft with a gravity ring to a satellite? It doesn't. Most satellites don't even have docking ports. But you can see we have arrived at the Gateway, the Minmus Orbital Outpost. This is not the Lunar Gateway. This is not the Mun. This is Minmus, and this is the Minmus Orbital Outpost. But you can see we are trying to do a bit of repositioning. The gravity ring needs to go on the crewed section, because crew are going to go in it. And the material kit section needs to go in the industrial section. I don't have a probe core on the gravity ring, so we need to use the material kit storage in order to actually dock it to the Minmus Orbital Outpost. I really want a shorter name for it, but I think Minmus Orbital Outpost is fine when I'm not saying it like 50 times in a sentence. But anyways, we have docked both to the space station, and then I realized the life support module doesn't have a probe core on it. That's pretty bad, because we need a probe core to control it. So my first idea was to attach a winch to the space station and attach a pipe endpoint to the life support module, and then just reel it in like a fishing rod, I guess. But that didn't work. It was too far out. Then I decided, why not push it with the second stage? The second stage has a probe core. Why not use it? But then I realized that would be too difficult. So then I realized we have this handy nuclear tug on board the space station. So I decided we are going to use that. And before disassembling the third stage, just for the extra material kits, gotta get wasted mass is wasted mass, I guess. We don't want that. But this is made a bit harder by the fact that when I hit the module with the Kerbal, it actually started spinning. So we have a bit of an interstellar docking scene here, where the two craft are spinning, but not at a very high rotation. It was quite easy to actually it wasn't the worst thing that could happen. It could have been spinning like really fast, and we would have been able to grab onto it. But thankfully it wasn't spinning that fast. What you saw there was it sped up to, I believe, 6 times regular speed. So yeah, it wasn't spinning that fast at all, which is good, because it, like I just said, if it was spinning really fast, then we might not have been able to put it onto the space station, which is what we just did. But now that we've returned the claw to the space shuttle, which we borrowed it from, we definitely didn't steal it, although both things are part of the space station. After doing that, we can dock back to the Minmus Orbital Outpost with the nuclear tug, and once again disassemble all the redundant parts, because gotta keep that frame rate up. If we don't keep that frame rate up, then the frame rate is bad, then it takes longer to record videos, which means less videos, which means less videos. Yeah. But you can see we have inflated the orbital ring, and it is now spinning. Thankfully, the docking port isn't spinning. Or the space station, for that matter. Only the ring is spinning. So now the crew has gravity. So their bones don't die, and they can actually walk when they get back to Kerbin. Although I don't think it's spinning at a very high G. So their legs might still be dead when they get back to Kerbin. But that's not our problem. Our problem right now is launching whatever this is. I don't remember what this is. So when the fairing deploys, I'll be as surprised as you are. Maybe less surprised, though, because I might remember it once the fairing deploys. But I'm not sure if what is this mission? Yes. This is a mission. Well, that's obvious. This is a Minmus Rover. For some reason, we have a contract. We need it to build a base on Minmus. For some reason, we need to deploy a rover onto the surface. I'm not sure why you need a rover on Minmus. A rover on Minmus is kind of useless, because it's much more. It's not much more efficient. You can practically fly everywhere on Minmus with just using an EVA pack. You can probably land on Minmus and return to orbit just using an EVA pack, because it has like 600 meters per second of delta V. So I'm not sure why we need a rover, but we're getting paid to do it, so yay, I guess. You can see we have landed the booster, a bit explosively though. We did a bit of lethal braking there. The engine fell off, so we're gonna have to replace that, but the booster is fine. That's good. But now we are launching the Endurance on a resupply mission. You may have wondered why we didn't take the rover out to Minmus. It doesn't have a probe core on it, so we need to send this mission up and have it do things. It needs to do a thing, and that thing is to attach a probe core onto the rover. Yeah. I lost my train of thought there. I'm sort of always losing my train of thought, although it takes a varying amount of time for me to actually lose it. Sometimes I end up talking about different things before I end up losing my train of thought, but hopefully that doesn't happen too much. Anyways, we have almost gotten into orbit now. You can't see it the rover did fly past because I'm very bad at SSTO ascent profiles. Yet I really do like SSTOs. They're very efficient, although that can be debated because they're carrying around those wings when you're in space. It's kind of inefficient carrying around wings when you're in space, but it makes it completely reusable. That's pretty good. And also we can we can land the Endurance, fill it up with fuel, and then launch it again in the space of like 5 minutes. Probably more. Probably takes like an hour or so. But that's better than any other thing. You have, other rockets, you have to recover all the pieces for it. Like, even with the Leviathan, you have to recover the booster on the drone ship, which takes a bit of time. Then you have to recover the second stage. Here you have to recover that. And that takes a bit of time. And this doesn't take very much time because you land it back at the Space Center. It goes into the spaceplane hangar, and then you can just launch it again. You don't have to deal with rollout times or anything. But now we have arrived at the rover, and yeah, we've arrived at the rover, and Bill Kerman can now go out on an EVA and attach a probe core to the rover, because that otherwise you won't be able to do much with the rover. The second stage that does have a probe core on it, it has the engine, which is a probe core apparently. That's what I controlled the vessel with, but the rover actually doesn't have a probe core, which is why we sent this mission up here in the first place. You can see we do attach it to the front. For some reason we can't like offset it into the rover, so it kind of looks a bit weird right now. Thankfully though, when we send crew down to the base, which will be soon or later, then we will be able to disassemble that, because I'm not sure where the rover would be going if it doesn't have any crew. I don't know. But the Endurance's job is done. We can now deorbit the spacecraft and head back to the Space Center, because that's what we want to do. Now I should talk about here, but we are re-entering the spacecraft. I did attach an RTG onto the top of the spacecraft, and that's because we have a very bad habit of running out of electric charge with our space planes. We've had a lot of problems running out of electric charge with the space shuttle, and we ran out of electric charge once on, I believe, on the last mission of the Endurance, and thankfully we still managed to land that back at the Space Center. But we don't want to worry about electric charge. We have nuclear power. But you can see we are landing at the Space Center for the, I don't know how manyth time. But now that's done, we can move on to the next mission. We will be sending the rover to Minmus soon, but soon is not now. Right now we have more urgent matters to tend to, and that is launching this. This is Explorer, and you may remember Singularity. We had an entire episode about Singularity and the Atlas Asteroid Redirector. But you may have remembered that the drills aren't powerful enough in order to mine the asteroid. I mean, they're powerful enough to mine the asteroid. They're not powerful enough to mine at an efficient rate. So we're sending this up. It's Explorer, and it's carrying perhaps the biggest payload a space shuttle has ever carried, at least in Colonization project. I'm pretty sure space shuttle may have carried heavier payloads to orbit in real life. Although maybe not. I'm not sure how much the payload weighs. But the payload is the companion asteroid miner, and its job is to mine the asteroid. However, like, it has varying amounts of success. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Actually, it works all the time. It just doesn't work how I expected it to. And by that, I mean it still doesn't have enough power to mine the asteroid. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to wait a bit in order to get that asteroid out to Minmus. We're going to wait until we have more efficient engines, because right now Yeah, the Nervas, they're okay, I guess. They're not the best, but they're also not the worst. But eventually we may have fusion power. We may have fusion engines. And that's much more efficient than nuclear engines, like what we are using right now. You can see the Explorer shuttle has gotten the same upgrades as Pathfinder did a couple episodes ago. And it's now nuclear powered, which is probably necessary for the amount of payload this is carrying. But you can see we do have two much larger drills. We have a much larger ISRU unit, and I thought this would work. I was wrong. It does not work. It was kind of a waste of money and time to do this. Although I didn't actually test this. I didn't test the module. But we're doing it anyway because at this point I thought, you know what, let's do it, see how it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works, and that's good. It doesn't work though. But we're doing it anyway. And we are trying to get to the asteroid, which is where it's heading to. Trying to find something to talk about here. I'm running out of ideas because right now we're doing absolutely nothing but slowing down, and apparently the quality of this commentary is slowing down as well. Hopefully that doesn't continue for too long. Maybe I can actually bring some ideas up, like what we are doing now. We have arrived at the Singularity asteroid thing. We've arrived at the asteroid redirector, and the asteroid for that matter. But now once again we have a bit of orbital ballet, so to speak. We have to get the companion module. It has to dock to the asteroid first. So we undock the redirector and attach this to it, but then we have to get our engineer out, Bill Kerman, and he has to attach a second docking port to the Atlas Asteroid Redirector and remove the claw from the Asteroid Redirector. We're also going to remove the drills because that's just extra weight. We don't want extra weight. That's extra weight, and that's bad. That means less fuel and less efficiency. And also because the docking port wouldn't fit without it. You could have also seen the asteroids started spinning there. I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure why it stopped. Apparently it has a mind of its own. That's kind of really strange. That is pretty bad. If an asteroid has a mind of its own, that means that it can do things. We don't want it to do things. It's a space rock. It's not supposed to move unless we tell it to. Or if we can't tell it to move. If we just shout at it, it probably can't even hear us because it's in a vacuum. We have to force it. We have to move it. It can't move itself, but apparently it can rotate by itself. I'm not sure why it does that, but I don't know. Apparently it also stopped. Apparently we might just have good reaction wheels. That's how I think of it. We just have good reaction wheels. But you can see we are getting Bill Kerman, Valentina Kerman, and Bob Kerman eventually into the redirector. apparently the space shuttle needs 2 crew in order to operate, so Valentina will be coming back to Kerbin with Jebediah, and sooner or later, Belle and Bob will be coming back too, because this doesn't work. But you can see I tried to plot out a maneuver, but then I was like, this isn't working. And I also realized that the space shuttle also needs more crew. So we got Valentina out on EVA, sent her back to the shuttle, and we can now head back to Kerbin. Much like the Starship mission that we recently sent, we have a lot of extra fuel. We have 1,551, I think. I could very well be wrong, but we have a lot of extra fuel left, so we can just do a radial and burn and head into a nice circular orbit in order to land back at the Kerbal Space Center. Oh, another fun fact about this video that I just noticed. It's actually a rather long episode. It's 34 minutes long. And that's kind of a long episode. Most episodes of Colonization Project are like 25 minutes long. I don't think it's just as long as like what was it? Episode. It was the one where he went to Minmus for the first time. I think that one was like 36 minutes long. And I sort of like longer episodes. It allows me to talk about things a bit more. And it allows us to do more things in one episode. And it also shortens the amount of time it takes for me to do post-commentary. Because I can fit more things into one episode and then just get the entire commentary done immediately. That's pretty good. But now we are plotting out a maneuver in order to get us back to the Kerbal Space Center. You can see I'm quite confused by inclined orbits because they're inclined orbits. I don't like them. I don't like redirecting asteroids, probably for this reason. You just have to go into very inclined orbits, although you do get some... You do get a few good views of like the polar ice caps and aurorae of Kerbin, and you also get to see the Mon sort of going around Kerbin and like what you would see from the map view, I guess. But doing orbital things with inclined orbits is quite hard and difficult. I just like nice circular equatorial orbits. I like them a whole lot more than crazy inclined orbits that asteroids have. Although it is acceptable if we have an E-class asteroid and someone's paying us like 13 million, not 13 million, like $2 million to go redirect it. But now you can see we are re-entering at a very safe attitude with the space shuttle. Apparently the new design is very back heavy. I'm probably gonna have to do some improvements on this. Hopefully Pathfinder doesn't have this issue when it returns, because that could be bad. But we do eventually level out into a safe. Actually, this is a very dangerous attitude. The previous attitude was perfectly safe. It was way safer than this attitude. This is not safe at all. Not safe at all. But we did come up quite a bit short of the Space Center, so we just have to land in a random grass field. Hopefully no one minds. Doesn't look like there's any civilization here, but we can land a space shuttle after blowing off like the rear fin. But that will be the end of his episode. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.